Hello everyone, my name is Reed and welcome to Storytime. Today we are going to be reading some malicious compliance stories, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. We'll just switch to the hot site. I once worked in the IT department for a company that managed some utilities and infrastructure. They had multiple facilities throughout their state and some extensive redundancy measures in place to keep the buildings connected in case of an emergency. One of the most important of these measures was their hot site, a backup facility that housed a replica of their computer network infrastructure. The hot site was located in a separate building from the main data center, so even if the main building was knocked offline, the hot site would still be available to take over operations. Of course, simply having the equipment and policies to recover from an emergency aren't enough, so the company also had an emergency preparedness committee with representatives from several key departments. The committee held regular simulated emergency drills wherein a member would write and direct an emergency scenario and the others would rehearse the process of recovering from it. The IT department's contributions to these activities were frequently marginalized by the rest of the committee, who firmly believed that the only appropriate way to handle any computer problem was just to activate the hot site. After all, it is a complete functional replica of our main systems. Why bother doing anything else when the problem can be instantly solved by simply plugging in a different computer? Well, the thing is that switching to our hot site was easier said than done. Think of it like the spare tire in your car. It's there if you need it, but it doesn't automatically replace a flat tire. You need to spend some time and effort to take the old one off and put the new one on. And once you finish your road trip, you generally want to get the tire properly replaced rather than continuing to use the spare. And if you're having engine problems, you don't solve it by putting on a different tire, and so on. The point is that a hot site doesn't solve every problem, and even if it does, switching to ours in particular would take some time. The IT representatives explained that every time, but we were always ignored. Finally, one of the network engineers was selected to lead one of the emergency drills, and this guy was fed up with everyone else always suggesting the hot site as the solution. Once the committee had taken their seats to hear what crisis they would be averting that day, the network engineer informed them that the building they currently occupied had just been demolished by a storm and none of the computer systems there remained. Time to activate the hot site! He grabbed his stuff from the table and left the building. And at that moment, all of the other departments realized that they had no clue how to even get to the hot site. The other IT representatives, being directly responsible for the upkeep of the facility, knew where to go and were out of the door only moments after the network engineer. Everybody else was considerably less prepared to relocate to a different building. If they had looked out the window as the IT people left, they might have seen which direction they had to turn out of the parking lot, but nothing more. After all, the hot site is designed to be isolated from anything that would damage the main facility, so it is located a fair distance away. The last of the Emergency Preparedness Committee arrived several hours after the IT department had all arrived on site. Not wanting to admit that they had no clue where they were going, they had no better option than to drive from one maintenance building to the next across the state, hoping that their destination happened to house the backup facility. By this point, the drill had taken much longer than the schedule had originally allowed, and the network engineer called it off, noting that the site would probably be just about ready to be brought online if they had actually bothered to start setting it up. They didn't, of course, since that would have disrupted the entire network. The IT department wasn't allowed to direct another drill for quite some time after that, but at least everybody else was much more reluctant to suggest the hot site as a catch-all solution. Honestly, I get that not everyone knew where the hot site was, but there's really no excuse for them not listening about the whole it not being a catch-all solution sooner. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. We have to do all our tasks before we leave? Sure. I worked as a cook in Denny's for roughly a year. The shift I worked in particular, which were weekends during the morning, it was always full and very busy overall. Most times, the morning crew, that consisted of 5 to 7 cooks depending on the day, handled the orders, and once things died down around 2 p.m., the swing shift would handle the cleanup and restocking from the morning's aftermath. It was set up so that those that took the beating in the morning could take it easy in the last few hours of their shift, and so that the swing had stuff to do if the restaurant was empty. We all have daily tasks that should be completed before the shift ends, which are small, like cleaning part of the kitchen or labeling stuff. And then we had bigger weekly tasks that took a lot more time and limited use of certain things in the kitchen. Current general manager at the time gets a promotion, and we get a new GM that doesn't quite like the structure of how we operated, and no longer allowed for morning crew to leave without cleaning up and completing our tasks. Okay, no problem. Malicious compliance begins now. Every Sunday during the busiest parts of the shift, me and a couple of coworkers would begin our weekly tasks that we were forced to do, otherwise we would get memos. Fryers? Not operational till done being emptied and thoroughly cleaned. Want to make the pancakes or any type of meat? Sorry, wait till we're done cleaning and disinfecting all the grills. Kitchen backed up? Sure, let us finish cleaning all the carpets first. This went on for about a month. Naturally, things got real bad for the restaurant as customers started leaving, complaining directly to the Denny's website and bad reviews on Facebook. This also caused a lot of overtime because most would also start right before the shift ended and didn't leave till they finished a few hours later, taking their sweet, sweet time. Previous general manager, now the district manager, called in a meeting with all the staff to see what was happening, and once things were explained, he removed the GM and promoted a shift manager that deserved the position and knew how things were done. Who just comes into a well-oiled machine that's running perfectly fine and throws a wrench in it for no reason and then screws everything up? Come on, people, don't make things harder for yourselves. Extra pickles. When I worked at Wendy's, one night a dude came through the drive-thru with a really bad attitude. He ordered a double stack and kept insisting how he wanted extra pickles. I can understand that. But the dude kept making personal attacks about how we messed up his orders previously and how stupid we are. I make his sandwich and hand him his bag, and he immediately goes, "There better be some extra pickles on this, I'ma check." Now, normally the amount of pickles on the sandwich is 2. I gave him 4. That's where I went wrong. Sure enough, 2 minutes later, he comes in saying there's no pickles on this thing. So I smile, wave, and assure him I'll remake it with the necessary pickles. The sandwich was made as follows: bun, pickles, patty, pickles, cheese, pickles, patty, pickles, cheese, pickles, onions, pickles, 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 bun, pickles. Wrapped up and personally delivered to him. Luckily, my manager thought it was hilarious and didn't care. Oh yeah, this one deserves to be posted on Delicious Compliance. Thanks for telling me I did something wrong. I work on IT security, basically granting and revoking access to software to and from people, designing access profiles, that sort of stuff. As I believe is no different anywhere, you need to put up a ticket with adequate approval to be granted access to access something within corporate systems. So, my job consists in getting tickets, checking for approvals, assigning access, closing ticket. Monkey job 101 to some extent. So, I get this ticket from username girl1. Please grant access to users girl1 and girl2 as per attached approval. I open the attached email to find a long as can be chain of emails with an approval for girl2 to be granted profile XYZ, issued by the proper approver way in the bottom. It's not generally an issue that the approver is not the last person to email, as one could say alter the email to read approved instead of denied upon forwarding the email to someone else, which I find to be an issue, but apparently our internal audit does not. I therefore proceed to process the ticket as one would. Access is granted to Girl 2, no approval was provided to Girl 1, therefore no action taken. Closed. A few days go by and I get a second ticket. Please grant access to user Girl 1 as per attached approval. I tend to remember these cases, especially when something out of the ordinary happened, or the verbiage used is pretty much the same. As soon as I open the email, deja vu hit me like a brick. So I proceed to selective read the email up to the point with the approval. When I pay attention to the date, it was issued January 2019. Also, it was changed from Girl 2 to Girl 1 in evident different font. Well, I could accuse her of forging an approval, but I really ain't got time to deal with such BS. Also, I would need to rework the previous one, so I proceed with, as per policy, approval should be no older than 30 days, which is true, and should be the last email issued by the approver, i.e. not forwarded to someone. Which isn't necessarily mandatory, but it would save me from trouble. Closed. Hours later, same ticket is reopened, as I expected, and the user goes all caps. But ticket 123 was processed with this same approval date. Please take action. And take action I did. Sorry for the oversight. Access to profile XYZ has been revoked effective immediately. Thank you for letting me know. Closed. Looking forward to the third ticket. Action was demanded and action was given. Just not what the requester might have had in mind. The day the glassy stood still. So a little background before I start. The bar I work at is a lovely bar and everyone who works there is just an amazing coworker, so I don't have it out for anyone. I am employed as a glassy, but I work the bar as well. On the day of the most recent UFC fight, we all expected to get utterly destroyed as the bar is fairly popular where it is, and we all shared the event on social media as much as we could. This put everyone in a high tense mindset, especially the managers. One of the managers, who I get along with well, approached me and said, "For today I want you to just be doing glasses only, not bar, don't go past this area," drawing an imaginary line with her foot. "If you go past it, I won't be happy." I couldn't blame her for being this intense. It was going to be a stressful day after all. Now the layout of this bar from left to right goes glassy station, coffee machine, left bar taps and fridges, cocktail station, right bar taps and fridges, gaming, and keno till. And the manager drew a line just after the coffee machine. After she left, my brain's cheeky cog started turning and I pushed through the next set of glassware, polished what I needed to be, and just stood there, at the line, waiting. The manager eventually saw me holding 2 trays of clean glasses standing still at the line and gave me a puzzled look, so I, in return, gave her the most over-exaggerated, confused-faced, and shrug I could do. She then chuckled and said, "Fine, you can go past the line." I know it isn't an explosion of anger that is usually posted here, but it helped keep things from getting too tense behind the bar, and I thought it would be worth sharing. Yeah, I was really confused what a glassy was at the beginning of the story, but it's very clear that it's someone that, washes the glasses and dishes and stuff. Cool, makes sense. Keep my hands off your bags? Okay. There's a bus terminal on my way home, and I usually pass by it every day. A few years ago, I was walking home and saw a woman struggling with her luggage. It was raining and the ground was slippery, so I headed over to help. One of her bags fell off her pile and I reached out and caught it before it landed on the wet ground. The woman turned around and screamed at me to keep my hands off her stuff, so I smiled at her and promptly dropped her bag into the puddle. She called me a jerk, but it was worth it. I like this story. Short, sweet, simple, to the point, and still delivered. Alright, that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed what you heard, then subscribe for more content like this daily. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.